Hello friends, welcome back to the shop and to the start of a new restoration series. Today we're going to be taking a look at this really beautiful pipe. And this is a pipe that I'm working on for my friend ClassicFlyTyer, or Alec. And Alec is a fellow YouTube pipe presenter, a fly tyer, does some beautiful fly tying work. And he's also a pipe smoker, so if you don't know ClassicFlyTyer, you should really go and see his channel. I'll put a link down below so you can pay him a visit. Now, this pipe was one that he sent to me and asked me if I would restore it, and I thought it was interesting enough, and the process was going to be different enough that I would make a video on this, and he agreed to that. If you're looking at this pipe right now, you're probably thinking it's a briar pipe. It's not. This pipe is actually a meerschaum, and it is a pipe made by Kiko, K-I-K-O. Kiko is an African pipe manufacturer. Kiko is apparently the Swahili word for pipe, and these pipes are made in what is now called the United Republic of Tanzania, but they come from a region which is known as Tanganyika. And Tanganyika is apparently not used anymore, and there's some issues with the name and all that, so I'm just giving that for historical purposes. The actual place that these come from is now called the United Republic of Tanzania. And the meerschaum is locally mined, and that's what makes this in part so interesting. So this is an African meerschaum. Most of the meerschaum that we normally see is Turkish meerschaum. And I always think of meerschaum as a coastal product because, you know, the word meerschaum means sea foam, and I know that it is somehow the formation of the meerschaum involves water, and I assume ocean salt deposits and things like that. I don't really know much about how meerschaum is formed, but that's what I've always assumed. So when I heard African meerschaum, I thought, well, how the heck does it get there? And it turns out that there is actually a very large deposit of meerschaum in a region that is called the Amboseli Basin. And the Amboseli is a dry salt lake, or at least it's dry most of the time. And it's really some interesting facts about the region. The Amboseli is it's dry most of the time. It's very heavily salted. But within this area there are oasis regions, and these are fed by underground rivers that originate on Mount Kilimanjaro. So you know, really fascinating to think that, you know, what went into the making of this material was you know, ancient flows of water off of Mount Kilimanjaro. Just really kind of neat. So these pipes are, they come in a number of styles. This particular one, I believe, is the Countryman. And as you can see, it's a rusticated meerschaum. So this is solid block meerschaum. This is not a meerschaum lined pipe. And the meerschaum from this region is somewhat characteristic in that it doesn't come out pure white like the Turkish meerschaum, but it actually is colored, and the colors include blacks and browns and yellows, and I believe that there's even inconsistency in the block, although I've never seen a block of raw African meerschaum. So the pipes are often colored, and as you can see, this pipe was made to sort of mimic a rusticated briar, and was stained with a black, and I'm not sure if that's the original brown color coming through or if that's actually an undercoat of stain, but it's got a really beautiful finish, and I believe that this sort of worn look is what is intentional. I don't think that this is I don't think this was ever a completely solid black pipe, but Alec can correct me if I'm wrong on that. The markings on the pipe on this side, let's see if I can get that to focus a bit better for you. Does not want to play today. Well, it's gonna be hard for you to read that, but this says genuine block Meerschaum. And as you can see on the stem, there is this neat little logo, which is actually an elephant, and obviously that needs to be re-inked, but that's one of the really cool things about this pipe. And the Kiko pipes have a variety of stampings. Most of them are animals, so elephants, giraffes, and others. And the elephant is one that is used on the Countryman, which is why I believe this is a Countryman, based on that and the fact that it is a block Meerschaum pipe. The only other marking on the pipe, which is very, very faint and difficult to read, and I'm trying to read it before I put it under the camera so I don't lie to you and tell you it's something else, is right there. And you can see, although it's not, unfortunately, it's starting to get worn down a bit, but that was the word Tanganyika, so the place where the pipe was made. So it's really a beautiful, very unique pipe, and I'm really looking forward to working on this and restoring it back to service. The pipe itself is not in bad shape. It just needs mostly some cleaning, cleaning and reaming. The interesting thing about it, though, is that because it's solid block Meerschaum, we can't really treat this the way that we treat a briar pipe. So this is presenting some challenges, and we're going to have to address each of those in turn. And that's one of the main reasons I wanted to make a video on this pipe. Partly because it's just a really cool little pipe, but the other is that we're going to have to develop some new techniques, and I thought you'd be interested in kind of following along with those. So we'll start with the stem. Pretty easy. We'll just do a standard clean on the stem, and that shouldn't be a problem. We'll remove the oxidation, lightly sand it to get rid of that surface oxidation, and then we'll polish it. We'll re-ink the elephant, and fortunately the elephant logo is very deep. I'm going to be as careful as I can with this Tanganyika stamping on the bottom, although it's going to be difficult to maintain that because it's very, very light. So I'll do my best with that. The stem is a screw-in tenon system, and that seems to be in very good shape. It's I should have shown you before I took it out, but it's correctly clocked and everything, so there's no issue with the stem at all in terms of its the way it's seated. We'll clean up that metal end there, which will not be a problem, and of course we'll clean the inside of the pipe basically using standard methods, pipe cleaners. Now when we get to the stummel, this is where things are going to get a bit interesting. So the pipe does need to be reamed, as you can see, and that's unfortunate because it's not, Meerschaums really shouldn't have cake buildup, and reaming them is not a recommended procedure, but in this case it's necessary because I can't get my finger in there. You can see the bowl is big enough that I should be able to, and if I really forced it, it would go in, but that's about where I start to feel restriction. So it does have to be reamed. Now you can't, well you can, but you shouldn't just take a Castleford reamer or a senior reamer or something like that and just start turning it in there. The reason is that those things are all going to apply outward force against the bowl. So while you're turning it, there's a force that's being directed on both sides of the bowl. And this being a somewhat fragile material, there's a good chance that if you do that, you'll wind up cracking the bowl. And this is really going to be true on any Meerschaum pipe. So you have to keep that in mind. It's never a good idea to use a standard pipe reamer on a Meerschaum. So what we're going to have to do then is we're going to ream that using the old-fashioned reaming knife method and some sandpaper, and we'll just have to take our time with it and do our best. Cleaning it, we're not going to be able to use any abrasives, we're not going to be able to use any chemicals because the Meerschaum is porous. So if I were to put and don't worry, I'm not going to do this, but if I were to put Murphy's oil soap on the outside of this, I'm sure it would clean it up nicely, but it would also seep into the meerschaum, and then ClassicFlyTyer is going to be tasting Murphy's oil soap every time he smokes the pipe. So we're probably going to be limited to using water and maybe a very mild abrasive, something like a gauze or something, to try to get this cleaned up. One thing that I was warned about is that the stain does come off quite easily on these, so we need to be careful about that. And finally, once we're all done, how are we going to shine it up? So we can't bring it over to the buffer and put carnauba on it, because that'll strip off the stain without question. So I think we're going to use a method that I've seen, and I'll reference when I get to it, but a method of applying beeswax to this, which is the traditional coating used on meerschaum pipes. So it's probably going to be one, maybe two videos, not a very long series, not a lot of work, but I think interesting work. So I hope you'll enjoy watching that along. And I hope that we'll be able to get this pipe back into service for ClassicFlyTyer very soon. So I will call this video to a close and look for the next installment in about a week. If you're subscribed, you'll get notification of that. If you're not subscribed and you'd like to see how this turns out, please click the subscribe button, and I'd really like to have you on board. So thank you all for watching, and until we speak again, I will look forward to talking to you all again very soon. Goodbye now.